Where do you think most femboys come from? The underworld? No. Poland? Close, but no. Anime? That's right, while femboys have been around for literal centuries, I think in modern times they're more represented in anime than anywhere else, and that's how it's always been. Osamu Tezuka, known as the godfather of manga, was writing tons of gender non-conforming characters in the 50s, and the trend has only accelerated since. From Haku to Chihiro to Astolfo to Venti, the femboy takeover is truly upon us. But have you ever stopped and wondered why there's such a deep connection between anime and femboys? No? Oh. Well, I have, because I'm a sad, broken man who kinda looks like a girl, and I bring to you today my historical, cultural, and practical explanation for this connection. Before I can really get into femboys and anime though, I want to go over their link to Japanese culture, because femboys are actually much more deeply ingrained into the fabric of Japan's history than you might think. That's right, here at Anime Labs we decided to bust out the beakers and the test tubes and do something we've never done before.
Research.
Oh my god!
With that uncomfortably long transition out of the way, we find ourselves in Edo period Japan. Aside from a hiccup or two at the beginning, it is a time of great stability and peace, a time where art and culture thrive, and most importantly, a time where Japan was fairly closed off from international affairs, largely sticking to themselves as Europe did Europe things. Japan is often considered a highly conservative society, which greatly emphasizes conformity and cultural identity. So I would expect this especially conservative time to carry with it a lot of stigma regarding male-male relationships. To my surprise though, these relationships were not uncommon or very taboo at all. In fact, a cultural practice known as Shudo was relatively common during this period. What is Shudo, you may ask? Well, allow me to paint the picture. The year 1615, you're a battle-hardened samurai shaped by the cold indifference of war. But after your hand in the destruction of the Toyotomi clan, you may finally return home to your longing wife and embark on an era of peace. However, upon your return, you're met by a woman grown dull and listless from her years isolate and assailed by a storm of complaints and nagging. You know what you must do. Yes. It's time to go get some boy pussy. So yeah, basically many samurai had wives with whom they reproduced, but also maintained amorous relationships with apprentice or otherwise lower-ranking males. This practice was socially acceptable, and while it was distinguished from male-female relations, a man who engaged with it on either side of the equation was never classified as possessing an alternative orientation. The act itself was but the people who engaged with it weren't considered as such. Young men known as wakashu were often considered desirable in the eyes of both genders and commonly engaged in feminine arts and fashion. These males were very commonly depicted in art and literature and are oftentimes even referred to as Edo Japan's third gender. Basically, they were a major cultural staple, and you've probably seen art of them without even realizing it. Like this dude. Also prominent at the time was the institution of traveling kabuki theater, which is actually still popular to this day. A theater in which all roles, including female characters, are performed by men, often donning what would be referred to in modern times as drag. And many of these performers sold their services as well. Of course, I'm only referring to their exceptional financial advisory, nothing of a salacious manner. But that out of the way. Japan has a long history of these types of relationships, largely because the primary religion of Shintoism never explicitly contradicts male-male behavior the way many other religions do. So there it is. In old Japan, the femboys flowed like water from the fountains. But in 1868, everything would change. Before 1868, Japan never batted an eye at many of these behaviors, but it was during this time, known as the Meiji Restoration period, that Japan became exposed to and adopted many Western Christian ideals, particularly in academia. This led to Japan amending its previous lack of distinction between straight people and sus people, and it was only at this point in history that Japan even had a word for men who liked men. With this new dichotomy established, though, Japan suddenly declared zestiness is bad and shall be illegal. While they eventually went back on this, the damage to the public perception of zest had been done, and it became highly taboo. Japan is a country with many of these acts in its history, so it makes sense that despite it being somewhat taboo now, their presence remains apparent within Japanese subculture and counterculture. This is where we get stuff like Harajuku and visual kei fashion being especially genderless, BL manga and shonen ai stories, and at long last, femboys. While no longer considered per se normal, zesty subculture has thrived in Japan for a long time, perhaps because it was so suddenly turned against during the Meiji Restoration, and some of these cultural movements have even become internationally popular, perhaps most notably, anime and manga.
Holy crap, he finally got to the point!
Anime lies at the core of femboys' current-day reputation. Most femboys you see online are rocking cosplay or anime-inspired fashion, but why? Well, I mentioned the cultural significance of the wakashu and Japan's history of feminine men already, but what makes Japanese animation such a good fit? Well, for me, I see two main reasons. The first is that animation allows for you to easily make any male look as feminine as you want. You can literally just draw a girl and say it's a guy, and then boom, a perfectly girly guy is born. This is in contrast to the greater lengths kabuki performers, for example, have to go to with makeup and costume in order to appear genuinely feminine as a male. Anime is also surrounded by otaku culture, and otaku absolutely despise being told what to do and how to be, even more than other countercultures I know of. This would logically include gender norms, especially considering how often anime already addresses themes of gender and attraction. So it's Japan's history of both male-male relationships and feminine-male presentation which inform the cultural background. When it suddenly became taboo in the 1800s, it still remained prominent throughout many subcultures and countercultures, and animation has sprung up in more recent years as the biggest vessel for feminine-male presentation due to its freedom with character designs and strongly countercultural roots. Happy? Well, I'm not, because there's still one more layer to be unpacked.
You got your gun for the fashion, fuck n***. You ain't gonna blow. I know you a bitch. I get sturdy on your butt.
These days, memes are one of the biggest factors in how popular something will become, and femboys are just really damn memeable. The anime community has been strongly tied to popular, mostly terrible memes for many years now. Memes are essentially just joke formats that fly around the internet, and while many femboys don't treat the way they present themselves as a joke, getting people to think that something is one thing and then, surprise, it's another thing entirely, is an extremely common joke structure and one that has taken many forms over the years. But hey, let's address the elephant in the room. We're talking about anime here, the medium notorious for fan service and Twitter art. You just can't underestimate the freak factor. Of course, a big part of their popularity comes from people ogling femboys, and I think this mostly works so well because people can just play off their attraction to them as a joke. It feels very taboo and transgressive to joke about, but it actually isn't that risky, as you can say, it's just a meme, dude. And that's a very important factor in giving anime femboys more widely accessible meme appeal, at least in my opinion. And hey, I get it. You're an anime guru viewer. Chances are you're an uncomfortably muscular alpha male who breathes creatine and is exclusively romantically excited by protein powder. So this may come as a shock, but some guys out there actually like to be give me a sec. Feminine. Yeah, it really doesn't have to be all that deep. A lot of guys just want to be more in touch with their feminine side, and that's probably healthy. But yeah, femboys have been a thing in Japan for centuries, animation allows them to shine more than most other mediums, and people love to make jokes about things that they're secretly attracted to. Projection. This is why I think femboys are such a staple in the modern anime community, and I think it's great that more people are exploring this kind of stuff, plus it's just funny to see people online freak out about them. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. That's just my 2 cents though. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed me getting way too off into the weeds about samurai-era Japan in a video about cartoons. Special thanks to Trey, Sumgoon, Artemis Locke, Hermit's Nook, Karta, Aesop, Ev, and Funky Boy Haas for all the support on Patreon. Have a good day, y'all.